Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pros podcast. I'm your host, Tally Shamus, and today I'm joined by agented author Michelle Sanchez, and we discuss the significance of social media for authors, including branding and community engagement. Make sure you listen until the end for Michelle's insight on how to navigate missteps in the digital space and the value of second chances. Michelle Sanchez is the author of the young adult gothic horror novel Casa del Demonio, inspired by the Hearts Under the Floorboards theme of Edgar Allan Poe's The Telltale Heart, the atmospheric vibes of Mexican Gothic, and set in beautiful Puerto Rico where she lives with her family. She's represented by Raina Rossner at Deborah Harris Literary and is equally obsessed with reading, writing, and Gusto's coffee. She's ridiculously active on Twitter and would love to connect with you. So, Michelle, why don't you tell us where you're at right now in your writing journey?
Well, right now I am finishing up my final edits, what I hope are my final edits, with my agent before we bring my gothic horror story to editors. I do feel like it's been a little bit slower than what I expected. I was talking to some agented authors, and I think everybody hopes they get agented, and then within a month, their book is on submission. And I know some people that's the case, and I think some agents are more editorial, and that it's a slower process. So I'm trying to enjoy that, and I'm learning to be patient.
So, when did you sign with your agent?
Back in February. It was actually my husband's birthday. It's been a little while, but I think life happens, world events, personal events happen. And so I am very understanding that it can have slower parts to it. And I really like my agent, and I think we have the shared vision of making this book the best possible version. And I think sometimes that means slowing down and doing the edits that maybe I'd prefer to have it on submission ASAP, but I have confidence that slowing down and doing everything the best we can is going to get the best book out there.
For sure. And you signed with your agent for a reason, right? This is somebody
Yes.
that you're trusting to guide you through this industry. So that's fantastic. Now, I actually was first introduced to your work through an event that we were both at, probably a year ago at this point. Was it a TS Not Ya event?
Yes.
It was, right? Yeah. Yeah, and so your query letter was actually a winner there, wasn't it?
It was so funny. When you asked me like what different conferences and events that I've done, at first I want to say, oh, I haven't done that many, but when I start thinking back, I actually did quite a few. That was one. Well, I live in Puerto Rico, so that's one thing I want to preface with. When you live on a tropical island, it's hard to find a local writing community. I think a lot of people struggle with that, even if they live somewhere where you would expect a lot of authors to be. So doing online events was really, really helpful for me. That one was fantastic. And then one of the first events I went to was actually in Arizona, and I met Charlie Holmberg, who wrote the Paper Magician series and a lot of other books. And I was in a workshop with her, and I had just started drafting what was previously called House of Hunger, and now I call Casa del Demonio. There was a title change. But she read the first 10 pages and really enjoyed my writing, and she loved the twist that I told her about. And so that was that confidence boost for me that I needed, especially when drafting a book. And so then I entered writing contests, and some of these were pretty pivotal in helping give me confidence as a writer. And I love that.
I think they really do help with that, and even getting to know your story better. But honestly, the fact that you came up with a name that was then used for a published book is pretty impressive, because that's a name that was vetted by the agents, the publisher, and you came up with that on your own.
It did really fit my book so well. And so that's the hard part. But at the same time, the new title is really cool. And I think it's the one we're going to go on submission with. But again, I'm just trusting in my agent to know what the best is. I feel like I have 4 kids. I actually love picking out names. So even though I'm sad about like a name change, at the same time, it's like this second chance. It's like having a kid, and then you're like, oh, I can change your name when you're a toddler. Here we go. This one's a great name, and it fits you better because I know you better at this stage. So I am not super disappointed because of that. I think it's a fun part of the process.
It really is. I'm actually going through kind of the same thing right now. So my agents suggested a name change for my book as well, and I actually adore the name that they picked. It's so
Oh,
good. I love it. So that
okay.
was
You are such a tease because as we're recording this, I still don't know who your agents are, plural agents. I still don't know the new title of your book. I feel like you're like holding on to this information and like teasing it out.
it's hard. I am not good at keeping secrets, so it has not been easy keeping this information so close to my heart.
I mean, it's just the two of us here. Why don't you tell me?
I sure hope that at least one other person will listen. Okay, I'm going to move into some rapid fire questions. We'll just go through these quickly and then we'll get into the real meat of this session. So, how long were you querying this book?
Like I said, the baby comparison, 9 months total with a break during the summer. I actually received a lot of feedback from agents, and I know not every author does. I felt kind of like a unicorn in that sense. So I got a lot of feedback from them. And then whenever I received the feedback, I would ask myself if it went with my vision for the story. But if it was good feedback, I would incorporate it. And so then I was kind of constantly tweaking my manuscript to make it stronger. And during that time, when I was revising, I had a number of full requests out, and then I'd reach out to those agents, tell them I had an updated manuscript and they wanted to see it.
That's awesome. And truly, it is so lucky to get agent feedback because, with the number of queries that agents are getting, it's just impossible for them to give everyone feedback. So there must have been something really special about your story for it to resonate with them like that.
I hope so.
Now, how many agents did you query in total?
So it was over 100. And I was going to say, like, I think from what I'm hearing, 100 could be considered the new norm for querying. It's not a crazy number. So my advice has always been to other authors if they're querying is even if you're getting close to 100, if there are agents open who represent your genre and might be a good fit for your book, and they're not schmagents and red flag agents, I would say keep sending those queries out. I am seeing friends on Twitter getting representation now, and I think a good part of it is because they have continued to query and query and query.
For
And
sure.
finally, it landed in front of the right person. And those stories are actually even more inspiring, I think,
Yeah.
because everybody is thinking, yes, finally, someone
Yeah.
like saw what we see in this person in their book. So it's
It's
super exciting.
true. And even I'd add to that to say, keep trying. My first manuscript I sent to over 160 agents. About 5 months later, I started querying the second novel. And in those 5 months, I had gotten full requests, but nothing beyond that. This second novel, within 2 weeks of querying, I had an offer. So
That's awesome.
it just shows that, even if you do send all those queries and it doesn't work out, keep trying, keep writing. It's what we love to do. So just do it.
100%, especially making note of who are the agents that say, I'd love to see your future work, because
Yes.
that means there's something about the writing. It's not just the concept, it's the writing that they really do enjoy. And I think
Yeah.
that they mean it when they say it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so was this your first book
No,
that you'd ever
no,
queried?
this was book number 5 for me.
Ooh, same
But
as Stephanie Garber.
oh, I love it. But I wrote them all within, I want to say 5 years. So I was
Wow.
writing quickly, but it tells you those first 3 novels were just trash, basically.
They were learning
They were learning.
experiences.
The concepts are fun, but then I look back and I'm like, I knew nothing. I was listening to writing podcasts. I was really trying to learn, but I just didn't know enough. And that's why I
Yeah.
think you have to continue writing, but continue trying to grow as a writer. And I think
Yes.
that's the combination of if you keep writing more manuscripts, but your writing is growing and it's becoming more elevated with each story, that's where I think authors get represented through that.
Definitely. Yeah. And now, when you were applying to agents, were you looking at agencies? Were you going for agencies of specific sizes?
That's such a funny question. Yes and no. I mean, who wouldn't want to be represented by the agent of the inheritance games? Or, I did query her agent, Jennifer Lynn Barnes, her agent with my previous book. But there were some that I was like, oh, these agents represent so and so, and I love them. So, yes. But honestly, it was more just about trying to find that person that would like my concept and enjoy my writing. And so for me, it was less about that. I do think where it comes into play is like if someone's considering offers, I would definitely probably choose the more experienced agent at the bigger agency, mainly because of like there's a hope that they're in it long term. Whereas I know new agents love them. They're a fantastic like person to query and they're hungry. But I've seen even in my querying journey, and probably for you too, I've seen a number of agents, new agents, where it's not sustainable for them. So I feel like that's one of the risks with
Yep.
a brand new agent, especially at smaller agencies where they don't maybe have things in place to take on those clients if
Yep.
that agent leaves.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely a balancing act, I think. Before my offer period, I was thinking, I want a relatively new agent. I want someone that will be hungry, but that will have ties to a big agency and will be able to have that mentorship. But then you're in your offer period and you're kind of questioning everything. Like, oh,
Yes.
do I want a newer agent? Do I actually want a more established agent? Or will the more established agent care more about, their big name clients than me? What was your offer period like?
It was insane. A friend suggested that I query a publisher directly. And so I queried one. I submitted to one, and it was like a mid sized publisher that she thought was a great idea. I felt uh, kind of neutral about it, but they ended up requesting and they ended up offering. But this was over the holidays. So we're talking right before Christmas. And so I had so many full manuscripts already out. Nudging with this offer generated a ton more interest. I was posting on Twitter like crazy, as I always do. So I ended up with all of this interest. But I will say, I think it was a very, very bad time to be giving a deadline. So initially I did, was it 3 or 4 weeks? But then honestly, I was also a part of several really big, really respected writing competitions. And I was a part of first their long list and then the short list. And so this really big agent was interested in my manuscript. And when I was put on the long list, she emailed me and told me she was interested, but because of judging and because of the contest, she couldn't do anything at that point. So I needed to wait. And so I ended up, for those reasons too, extending this deadline even further. And so it was honestly super, super stressful. I would not recommend it to anybody. Agents ended up ghosting on the full manuscript. Like it was anything that could happen during that time period kind of happened. So what I did to kind of cope with it is I had this new story idea and I just jumped into it so hard. And that's what kept me sane during a really, really, really insane time period. I think everybody's experience is different, but mine was very challenging in a number of ways. And I think we all should be more honest about some of maybe the struggles during that vague period. Because
For sure.
you have an offer, whether it's publisher or agent, but maybe it's not the one you really, really want. You're nudging, you're hopeful. So there's so much, I think, emotion to the process. And I love it when authors can talk with each other or prepare those who are not as experienced and just say, this is normal.
All of our experiences are so different. Like you talk about your offer period that dragged on, right? Because of the timing and all of that. So personally, I have anxiety like you wouldn't believe. And so I'm thinking to myself, there's no way I can be in this vague in between period for long. So I decided when I got my first offer, I'm going to give it 2 weeks. If agents want it bad enough, they will offer within those 2 weeks. And if they don't, they don't. But honestly, I can't sleep at night as it is. And I need this to be done as soon as possible. And so I think I had kind of the opposite experience where I do think I diminished my stress by making it so tight. But I had at least 7 agents say, "I'm sorry, I can't make the deadline. I love your story, but I'll have to pass." And actually, the agents that I signed with, Friday was August 8th. That was the end of my 2-week period. That Monday, they said, "We're interested, but we don't know if we're going to be able to finish reading by Friday. Can we let you know on Monday, the next Monday?" I said, "Listen, I'm so sorry. I've made a commitment to the offering agents at this point. I hope you can finish reading it by Friday, but if not, then, I'm sorry."
I love that actually. You stuck with it. Like, that shows your character and your priorities. Good for you. I kind of envy that. That's the way I think it should be done.
That night, I was seriously questioning my life choices. That night, I was thinking, what did I do? Why didn't I just extend it the weekend? No, but
Well,
it all worked out. So
I think there's always that thing too. It's like, I think sometimes, maybe not for you, but I think for me and for a lot of authors, I think that's one of their gentle letdowns. It's a gentle pass to say, I don't think this is great. I don't think I'm gonna have enough time to finish. Congrats on your offer. Like, I feel like I know this by memory. And I think it does make me wonder how many of them, if you said, "Oh, I'm able to extend it," would their answer change? Probably not. Probably not the majority is my
yeah,
guess. I
yeah,
could be wrong, but that's my
that's true.
guess.
That's true. And that was really my thinking going into it. If they want it, they should know right away. And I understand completely that they are swamped. I see agents saying that they have 21 notices of offer. That's wild at the same time to read that many full books. So I get it, but at the same time, I feel like if you read the first few pages, if that's the vibe that you're looking for. So,
I think it's also the fear of missing out though. Like, none of the agents, and I get this, I would be a bad agent, I think. Because I would be constantly like second guessing. Like, what if this becomes like the book?
exactly.
Like, I would
Exactly.
overthink it. If you said you're kind of type A, I feel like we both would overthink it. And
For
then we'd
sure.
be paralyzed, like with the decision making. And then maybe we'd be the people who would ghost. We can't say yes, we can't say no.
Or
And so
take all the clients. Just take everyone.
no, I wouldn't do that. I think I know what I can and can't handle, and I couldn't
Yeah.
handle that.
How did you pick your agent?
So short answer is we got on a call and I felt like we vibed on it. It turned into a 2-hour phone call and she ended up offering halfway through it. And she was very clear from the start that she enjoyed it, but she thought it needed some work, which is interesting. I feel like nobody wants to hear this still needs work. I don't want to hear that at this stage either. I'm like, tell me it's perfect. Tell me it's ready. But I was at a point where I was trying to decide what I wanted to do with this book too. And so, but also like knowing however I got it out into the world, whoever represented me, or if I went with the publisher who offered, I knew I had to have it be the best version of the book possible. Like, my name is going to be on it. This is something I'm investing time in, other people will invest time in. So that was the ultimate goal for me. And so that she's very editorial, that she's very direct in her communication style. And she's been my agent is Raina Rossner, and she's been an agent for, I think, 13 years. I think she's had 150 plus deals if you look her up on Publishers Marketplace. And so I have this confidence that my agent is experienced and knows what she's doing. And I don't. I know what I like when I read, but I don't know how to prepare a book for submission to editors. And so that was a big part of it. I felt like we had that same goal for the book. And even if I end up having to do even more edits, I know we have that same goal. And
Right.
it was interesting in a writing Discord group I'm a part of for agented authors on submission or preparing for submission. That's what one of the other authors said to some of us as we're preparing. Your agent wants to sell this book. It's not just reaching this certain point that it's perfect. Is it sellable? Is it the
Yeah.
most sellable version possible? And I think that's something that's really good for authors to keep in mind too. Like, they get paid when they make the sale of the book.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think that that was a really interesting glimpse into querying journeys and how we've made it to this point in our writing careers. But I know that you are known for something on social media, and that would be author branding. So tell me a little bit about that. You have quite an engaged following on Twitter. Can you tell me how you grew that community?
Well, first off, thank you. I think there are amazing people on Twitter, and I'm so grateful to be connected with them. And I first joined Twitter, I think 3 years ago, and it was because I'd read on a blog about pitch contests or pitch events. And I think it was Pit Dark. And I thought, I'm going to query and I want to participate in this pitch event. And so I joined, had no followers. I don't even know how I participated. I didn't know what I was doing, but that was the catalyst for introducing me to Twitter and starting to use it. And then from there it grew. I learned about more pitch events, and the fun thing about the pitch events is like you see the authors connecting with each other. It's all about supporting each other, and people create support lists and they're hyping each other up. And that is so the vibe I want if I'm going to be on a social media platform. And so I saw other people doing that. I wanted to emulate that too. And so over these past 3 years, that's how I've connected with a lot of the other authors is through mainly pitch events. And then writing contests. When you're in a writing contest or long listed, and if they do a social media post, you quickly see like what other authors were on the list and were they tagged, or who are the people who are congratulating these other authors. And I was like, I want to follow those people because they're
Ah,
supportive. And so that was how I got started with it. Um, and then during like my querying journey for the book that I'm agented with now, um, I would share about my query experience, the highs and the lows of it. Um, I would post quite a bit about it, or just tips and things that I had learned along the way, some of the struggles of it too. And so that's where I think some people started following me during that part, and then they've stuck with me. And I love that because, like, I love having other authors to engage with. I love learning about their manuscripts. I love seeing people that I've been in the query trenches with become agented, or seeing them getting book deals. There's really nothing so exciting as going through that process with other people and then seeing them reach these stages. It's so, so amazing.
that's so true. I love that aspect of it. Now, so you're primarily active on Twitter. Do you think it's wise to try several social media outlets at a time, or do you think it's better to kind of zoom in on one and focus there?
I don't know because I try and use Instagram and I'm so bad at it. I don't know. There was a pitch event recently just on Instagram, and I'm like, I don't know how to share, or I would say retweet because I'm so used to Twitter terminology. I I don't know, it's kinda like switching from, like, an Android to an iPhone. You become, at least I become so familiar with one that it
Yeah,
feels like home, it's comfortable. The feed works a certain way, and you see the things, and you know how to find things. And for me, switching from one to the other, it's so awkward, and I haven't spent enough time trying to figure it out. Um, I probably wouldn't do more than 2, though. I think for
yeah,
authors, like, choosing maybe it's one to start off with and then, selecting another one. But I think that that's how authors can experience burnout is if
yes,
they're spreading themselves too thin. So
100%.
for me, it's mainly Twitter. And I thought about it. Twitter is primarily words based. And it's no wonder that it resonates with so many authors because we
Yeah.
are such word nerds.
It's
We love it.
true. It really is. And I completely agree with the point about burnout because I want to hedge my bets. I don't necessarily know, where something will blow up or go viral. So I have tried to be on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and Blue Sky. And I can keep it up for a week or two. But then consistently posting on all of these social media outlets, I don't want to sign into any of them anymore. I get so exhausted. I get so frustrated and just, yeah, burnout is real.
Well, TikTok, I just have to say, you're brave. If I could get one of my teenage daughters to post for me, which I may at some point, they're so good at this kind of thing. As a middle-aged millennial mom, it's just not. I don't feel like it's my place.
I think that the book talk community is so big, and TikTok, it's much easier to grow on than other outlets. I mean, your growth is just so much quicker on there. Like, I have about 5,000 followers, and I really have not put a whole ton of effort. I'd say I've put more effort into my Twitter than I have my TikTok, and it's just that there are so many more people on there. So that's kind of the enticing thing about TikTok. But the thing with TikTok is that you have to be constantly posting. You can, and they're videos, right? So it's not like Twitter where I can go on and post 10 tweets a day and
Mhm.
it's just my thoughts. I'm just going on and typing my thoughts out. I have to actually sit down. I have to film. I have to not look like this.
I get it. I get it. Why do you think I don't do TikTok? I'm just not ready. Can you do it without putting your face on there? But then it's
Yeah.
yes, but I don't know. 5,000, I'm impressed. Good job.
It's not that big of a deal on there, to be honest. It's the book talk community is very, very big. There are a lot of people you can reach. There are a lot of readers. They're connecting with me as a person. Then in the future, they will go out and buy my book. And so you're building that community. But I do think it's wise to pick and choose. I think it's very, very difficult to be on every single outlet. It's tough.
I
Unless you have
agree.
a team.
No team. You're looking at the team.
Do you talk to your agent at all about social media strategy?
Okay, so this is the funny part. Not really, because she used to be on Twitter. The funny thing is, several years ago when she was on Twitter, she liked one of my tweets, one of my pitches for my previous book, and then I sent it to her and she ended up passing on that one. But then she left Twitter. So she doesn't know this whole side of Michelle Sanchez that is on Twitter. I've tried to tell her. But it also means that she doesn't know I had this unhinged pit fake book like publishers marketplace book deal. I don't know if you're
Yeah,
right.
I did. Yeah, yeah.
It to say it went viral is probably an exaggeration, but it had a lot of views, a lot of people saw it, and it's funny because I have yet to show it to my agent because it just feels awkward. So, I don't know if she's ever seen it, and I don't know, should I just send an email and be like, "By the way, this was summer of last year, and it was kind of a joke, but you go?" I don't know, she would probably laugh. I think someone who knows her told me she would laugh, but I just feel so awkward, so instead it's like this skeleton in my Twitter closet.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about then how you would describe your own brand. And relatedly, how can an author discover or develop his or her own brand?
So it's funny. I think I suggested this topic to you. And then once I started thinking about it more, I got such imposter syndrome. I'm not a marketing major. I don't know what I'm doing. It's all trial and error. But the funny thing is, because I love Twitter, in preparation for this podcast, I just posted and I asked my followers what they think of me in words or an image when they think of my account, what my brand is. And I had quite a few responses. One of them was so funny because she's been on Twitter for over a year and she said, "Your brand is branding." And so she was like, "I got on here over a year ago and you were one of the first accounts I followed. And you were always talking about branding." And she also has said, "I'm just encouraging and relatable." And I think that's actually part of my brand as a person. When I was querying, I wanted other authors, whatever stage they were at, to realize Michelle is just like me in the sense that we're all in the query trenches together. We're all working towards the same goal, and we will celebrate like crazy when we see someone has clawed their way out of the trenches and they have an agent or they have a book deal. And so I think that's a huge part of who I am as a person. Um, but I think it's interesting because then you start talking brand and you're like, Are you talking author brand? Are you talking book brand? They work together, ideally very well together. But I will say on Twitter, I was like, who are some of the best brand authors on there that I see something and I think of them immediately? And there are two. I actually DM'd both of them today and I was like, if you did a little quote and you gave advice about establishing author brand, what would it be? And the first one is from Allie Nguyen. She's known for her debut young adult novel, Blood of Silver, which will release in 2026 with Simon and Schuster. And I love following her because she earned a reputation as an author of the stabbiest of all stabby female characters. And she also does these fantasy stories that incorporate Viet mythology. I've read her books and they're fantastic. But she said, treat your book like a brand, market the book, not yourself. The readers must care about the book and the characters before they care about you, the author, which I thought was interesting. And I'll tell you, she's very good at that. If you follow her, she'll share some stuff about herself, but her account is primarily about her book. And we all recognize her book. We all see others like images or things on social media, and I'll DM her stuff. People will tag her and stuff. Like, she's been so successful with her brand with this book, and it's incredible. And then another author that I talked to was ZT Fairfax. And are you familiar with him? Yes, I knew you would be. I think you know both of these authors, right?
Yeah.
And so he's an agented author, and he's best known for his Muppet-themed young adult horror novel called The Hugglebees. And it's just like you see his stuff or you see anything related to Muppets and you immediately think of him. And so his advice was, a brand isn't a box you're trapped inside. It's an extension of your work, and oftentimes the first thing a potential fan will see, like a bat signal for readers that says, look over here at all of this weird stuff you can enjoy if you invest in me as an author. And it's such a ZT Fairfax type quote. But I loved this because I think as authors, especially when we're querying, it's like we're constantly sending out bat signals, trying to attract agents, trying to attract editors, trying to attract readers. We're like, hey, look at me, look at what I have.
Yeah.
And I love that, especially because I think this is a part of successful branding. Inviting people to engage with you is huge. And so it's saying, follow me, and I'm going to take you on this journey. You had asked me what my brand is, and people responded, and some of it was about me as a person, like uplifting and inspiring, real talk, professional, engaging, determined, supportive, funny. Like, those are things not about my book, but about me as a person and how I interact with people. But I was also relieved when people said, you write gothic horror with romance. That's definitely my brand. Several people said spooky stories, hearts, bleeding hearts under the floorboards, the telltale heart. And those are all my brand specific to the book that I'm agented with now. But I do think a lot of it, whether it be going a following on social media or trying to promote something that you've done, I think so much of it is inviting people to engage with you. That's with a lot of my posts, I've realized. Ask a question, like a writing related question, or do a poll, or ask people for advice. I think everybody's scrolling and they're looking for a reason to stop and to engage with each person when they post. And I think in marketing terms, it's like a call to action. Ask them to do something. Ask them to like something. That was one of my strategies during pitch things or when I was trying to engage the community. It's like, hey, can you reshare it? Can you retweet this for me? Or I'm trying to get an agent. That was one of my posts was, I have a publishing offer. Now I'm trying to get an agent. Can you repost this? Like, let's generate some interest. And I think people are so supportive. Like, they want to help each other. And so that's the expectation I go into it. And then they want to feel appreciated. They want that reciprocated too. So that's the type of environment I love to see on social media. And it's the kind of reputation and brand that I want to have as an author.
Right. Well, it sounds like you're doing a great job in that regard.
I hope so. I love it. That's the other thing too is I think people you can tell when people enjoy engaging and interacting, and I think that that makes people want to interact and engage more
Yeah, definitely.
if they get that vibe.
Yeah, and you can tell when someone's authentic, I think. I think you can tell when somebody's just signing on to, push something and get off as quickly as possible, and when they actually want to engage with the community. But I also think that there are some dangers that come with social media. So maybe you can touch a little bit on some pitfalls that authors should be aware of when they're posting.
Oh, 100%. Um I think that because social media is not face to face, people can be too free in sharing their thoughts and opinions. They can respond impulsively. I think there's this safety of being behind your phone or behind the computer screen. And I've seen lately a lot of what I'd consider aggressive behavior with authors and even going so far as like being very hostile and bullying other authors or even bullying agents. There was something recently that just made me so upset because I think part of being a genuine, authentic person that people want to follow is to treat everybody with kindness. I keep hearing that publishing is very small. I think that we're known for the vibe that we bring. And that's something that people start establishing a reputation. And my goal is to be as authentic as I possibly can. And so I'm showing people the real me. But for authors, they should ask themselves, like, if I'm on this social media account specifically as an author to establish a brand and a following and promote my books, what is going to serve me best? What kinds of things should I post? But almost more importantly, what kinds of things should I not post? I think people should hold true and fast to what their convictions are. But at the same time, I don't think social media, especially if it's your professional author account, I don't think that that's necessarily the best platform to use because you may have people agree with you, but chances are you're probably going to have 50% that disagree with you. So I think it's
Right.
alienating.
I think you touched on a really key point there that it's your professional account. So, my view of it is that even if I'm going to be sharing my life, my personal life, it's going to be aspects of my personal life that are relevant to writing. So maybe I'll show someone what my writing desk looks like or what a day in my life is like, these things that are relevant to my career. But it's just like I'm not going to go into a law firm and start showing people my dance moves. I'm gonna
You
I'm gonna
did.
keep it relevant. I didn't. Maybe I would have lasted longer if I did.
I mean, I agree with you. I'm not good at math, but there's probably percentages of like, oh, only share about and promote your book for 10% of the time. And then, talk about writing topics. I do not have a spreadsheet. I do not have percentages. But I think there's also should be space for fun too. Maybe it's not even directly related to writing, but it's something fun,
Yeah,
like
completely agree.
engaging. But I do think, and I think sometimes people think, I had a lot of people today comment that I'm very professional. And it's so funny. I think that people can think of that word in different ways. But ultimately, it's just conducting yourself with thought and care. I think you can still have fun, but just trying to keep that mindset of like, what is my
For
purpose
sure.
with this account? What do my followers, what do they enjoy? What do they engage with more? And then trying
Right.
to bring that because we're all delivering something. And I think that helps with that mindset.
Oh yeah, tremendously. And now what about if somebody does make a misstep? Someone makes a mistake, says something they shouldn't have. Do you think there's a way to bounce back or do you think that a digital footprint is more or less permanent?
It's a tricky question. I actually posted something recently to an author who had committed an offense and had all of the hostile, aggressive people tried to cancel her. And with some justification, I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty of what was said, but I did do a post afterwards. And I was like, for an author in this situation, these are my recommendations of like, how do you come back from a situation where you did a post and it wasn't well received? And it was funny because I received a lot of feedback on that, and not all of it was positive. And I had people blocking me as a result of it. But I'm a firm believer in second chances. I always hope people would give me a second chance if they don't like one of my tweets or something comes across wrong. I would always hope that they would give me the benefit of the doubt. So I always try to follow that when it comes to other people. But at the same time, I think it's like in a novel we're reading, if someone cheats and then they want to get back together with the main character, like we don't want to be so quick to forgive unless we see actual change. Like you want to see that some change took place, that the person has apologized or made amends if possible. So if this is someone who tweeted something very in very poor taste, my hope is that they would take time to really reflect on that. And then if they get back on social media, maybe it's an apology. And then you would want to see the trajectory of what they post to be in a totally different vein from whatever got them in trouble in the first place. And unfortunately, you don't always see that. That would be the best case scenario. I think there are times where maybe someone has done such irreparable damage that no matter what they posted after that, that's going to hang over their head for their life. So I think sometimes it might mean starting a new account and being a different person than the person that you were before. But not everybody agrees with that because they think it can be kind of sneaky, which would not be my intent. It's more of a fresh start for people who really want a fresh start. That's
Yeah.
important to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's something to be said for second chances. Well, with that, I think that this has been a really fascinating conversation, and I really appreciate you coming on to chat.
Thank you. I have loved it. I have loved being able to connect with you. I've already listened to your first couple episodes and I'm already a fan
Oh,
of the podcast. So I'm
thank you.
excited to see what else you do with it.
Yeah, I'm very excited. We have some really exciting guests coming up, so I think there are great things in the future. So I hope you'll all stay tuned. Thanks for watching, and remember to check in next Tuesday for a new episode of the Pros podcast.